In the previous video, we learned how to find LCA in big of n time. If you don't know what is LCA or what the basic idea is to find LCA, go watch that video. Video link will be in the description. Also, before starting this video, I have to mention one thing very clearly, that if you have to find LCA between two nodes only once, then you need to learn the previous approach because that works in big of n time. But let's say if you have multiple queries to find LCA or something regarding LCA, then the approach that we are going to learn today is going to be a better approach, because this approach is going to take big of n log n processing time and big of log n time for answering each query. But if you have to find LCA once, then you can use the naive approach, that will be big of n. Okay, so to understand how to find LCA using binary lifting, let's clear some basic things. So first thing I want to talk about is Euler's tool, because this is also a prerequisite to find LCA using binary lifting. Let's say if I tell you to find out, if I give you two nodes, say u and v, and if I ask you to tell me that to check whether u is one of the ancestors of v in constant time, how you are going to solve this question, right? So this is where Euler's tool comes into picture. So Euler's tool is nothing but DFS with a timer. So you can see here the code written in black is nothing but a basic DFS, and I have maintained three extra things while making a DFS call on root. First is a global variable timer. Second is an array that will tell me what is the in time of a node. That means when did we enter into that node and its subtree, we call it t in. Then we have a array t out, which will say out time of a node. That means when did we exit from that node and its subtree. Now, so what we are going to do during this DFS, so let's say I run this code here. So when I enter any, I call DFS on my root, here root is 1, and when I enter my root, I mark it in time as 1. Then I make DFS call on its children. So then I enter 2. When I enter 2, I also mark 2's time in time as 2. There, by marking time, when I am marking time, I am also increasing my timer, right? So then I reach 4 at time 3. Now when I reach 4, 4 does not have any children. So for when this DFS call will be running on node 4, then this part won't be executed anymore, because all of 4 has no children, right? So then what we are going to do, we are going to exit from node 4. When we will be exiting from node 4, we will mark its out time. So now its out time is 4. Then one of the 2's children, which is 4, is finished. Then we go to 2's next children. 2's next children is 5. So you come here at 5, you exit here at 6, because 5 also doesn't have any children. Then you come to 6 at time 7, and you exit node 6 at time 8. Then after exiting from 4, 5, 6, 2 does not have any more children left. So then you come to 2 and exit 2. When you exit 2, you also mark its exit time, which is 9. Similarly, you come here at 10, you visit 7 at 11, you exit 7 at 12, you visit 8 at 13, you exit 8 at 14, then you exit 3 at 15, and after 2 of DFS call for 2 and 3 are finished, you exit 1 at 16. So now I have t in and t out values of my nodes, right? So how these two values are going to help us to check whether u is an ancestor of v or not. So one thing, if you notice that for any node during DFS call, you enter, let's say for 2, you enter 2 first, then you visited subtree, right? Similarly, once you have visited all the nodes in the subtree, then you are going to come out of this node, which means if I say that U is an ancestor of V, that means my in time of U must be less than in time of V, because during DFS call you entered the node U first. Similarly, after DFS call happens, you exited U first, that means you exited V first, you exited from subtree first, then you exit from the node itself. That means you can say your out time will be greater than out time of your children, right? So this function here is ancestor checks that you check whether in time is less than in time is less must be less than its child and out time must be greater than its child. Now this function is very important. This function is going to help us finding LCA. Okay, so now that we know Euler's tour and we know that these things are going to help us, also let's talk about time complexity here. DFS works in big of n time, and once you have pre-processed this t in t out values, this function is nothing but constant work, right? So this function works in big of 1 time. Okay, so now let's move on to binary lifting, pre-processing of binary lifting. Okay, so what we do in binary lifting is we maintain a sparse table of parents. If you don't know what a sparse table is, you can go and watch my sparse table playlist in my channel. But you really don't need to know about sparse table. Actually, I am going to explain it once more again here. So sparse table is nothing but a 2D array or vector. You can call it a 2D array or vector. So in let's name it as table. Okay, this table. So what happens in sparse table is that you create a 2D array or vector such that any element, let's call it table ij, is going to represent here in this binary lifting. This element at ith row and jth column is going to represent 2 power jth parent of node I. So any element in this sparse table that we will be making, in this table we will be making, so the element at ith row and jth column is going to represent 2 power jth parent of node I. Now let's think mathematically for a bit. What is going to be the dimension of this table? You see there are 2 dimensions, one is row and one is column. So for this part, parent of node I, that means my row must be from 1 to n, because we are going to make table for all nodes. That's why one of the dimension is n, my row number is n, and for j, for number of columns, say for any node I, my j index stores value of 2 power jth parent, right? So what is the maximum parent any node can have? Answer is obviously n, because you can't have any node having more than n parents in a tree of total n nodes. So I can say my number of columns will be such that, so I can say that my number of columns will be some j such that the value of 2 power j at max will be n. That means my j will be less than equals to log n, right? So my row number is n and my number of columns will be log 2 n. Okay, so that's what I've done here. I have created a table globally. Now how to, what is this binary lifting? How to build this table, in such a way that table ij will store 2 power jth parent of node I. Once we build this table, we are going to see how this table is going to help us. So first let's focus on how to build this table. Okay, this part we discussed in Euler 2, and this part also discussed in Euler 2. This part is basic DFS. Now when you make a DFS call, what do we call? We call something like this: DFS root and its parent called pair. Let's call P, not pair. Okay, so this P is the immediate parent of root. That means this P I can say is the first parent of root. So now I can write the first parent, means I can write this as 2 power 0th parent of root. So I can also write now that table root 0 must be equals to P, because that's what our table represents, right? 2 power 0th parent of root, that means first parent of root, which is P. So this part is clear now. So once you make a DFS call, while you are at one node, then you first mark its immediate parent, which is this line, table root 0 equals to pair. Now how to build table for other j's? For other value of j, I have this works for I equals to 0. Now I equals to 1 till log minus 1, which is log 2n minus 1. We can say that, okay, now 2 power j can be divided into 2 power j minus 1 and another 2 power j minus 1, which means if you come to this tree, I can say that, okay, my second parent of 9, let's consider this node 9. What is the second parent of 9? Second parent of 9 is node 7. I can call 7 as the second parent of 9. At the same time, I can also call 7 as the first parent of 9. So what is the first parent of 9? First parent of 9 was 8 and its first parent is 7. Similarly, if you consider, okay, let's consider this same node 7. What is the fourth parent of 7? Fourth parent, this is the first parent, this is the second parent, this is the third parent, this is the fourth parent. Fourth parent of 9 is 1. So instead of calling 1 as the fourth parent of 9, I can call 1 as the second parent of 9, because second parent of, what is the second parent of 9? Second parent of 9 is 7 and 7 second parent is 1. So to build the table next, what we are going to do is, we are going to iterate like the 2 power ith parent must be the 2 power I minus 1th parent of its 2 power I minus 1th parent. That's what I meant when I said that 2 power j can be divided into 2 power j minus 1 and 2 power j minus 1. So when we are talking about 2 power ith parent, when we want to calculate 2 power ith parent, you say that 2 power ith parent is nothing but 2 power I minus 1th parent of 2 power I minus 1th parent. So this part here is nothing but roots 2 power I minus 1th parent. and this node's 2 power I minus 1th parent is going to be the ith parent of root. So this part is clear now. Now talking about time complexity of this code, this is constant, this is constant, this is constant, and this DFS runs for n nodes. That means DFS call will be happening n times, and for each time you are going to run this loop which is from 0 to log n. That means time complexity is in log n, pre-processing time. Okay, till now we saw what is Euler's tour and what is pre-processing of binary lifting, right? Okay, now now that we know how to build the table, we come to the final part, which is finding LCA. Now we have our sparse table ready and we have our Euler's tour. There are two important things to consider. This function is going to help us, and this table is going to help us, right? Now we are going to see, once we have made this table and we have a way to check whether a node U is V's ancestor or not, how these two things are going to help us finding LCA and big of log n time. Okay, so let's say we want to find LCA of node 7 and 9. Let's call this U equals to 7 and V equals to 9. Okay, so what is the LCA of 7 and 9? Clearly LCA of 7 and 9 is 4. But notice one thing, that all the nodes above this LCA are also ancestors of both U and V. That means 3 is also an ancestor of both 7 and 9. 1 is also ancestor of both 7 and 9. So our LCA is basically nothing. Our LCA is the lowest among all the ancestors, but it doesn't mean that it is only one ancestor. There are multiple ancestors. LCA is just the lowest among them. So the idea here is not to focus on ancestor, rather reach the topmost node which is not an ancestor of B. Let's say so in our naive approach we are moving two pointers, both U and V, right? Here our idea is to move pointer to a node such that this node is the topmost node which is not an ancestor. Why I am focusing on not? Because let's say if I move U pointer here and I move to a node which is not an ancestor and is the topmost, that means I move here because this is the topmost node 5 which is not an ancestor of V, and also the topmost. So once we reach this node, I can say my LCA is the immediate parent of this node. That means when you move your pointer U over here, I can say at that point my LCA is nothing but my table U and 0, because table U0 represents the 2 power 0th parent. That means first parent of U, and this is going to be my LCA because at this node, at this current U, we have reached the topmost node which is not an ancestor. That means if we go any further upwards, those nodes are going to be ancestors, and the immediate one which is the immediate parent is going to be the lowest of those ancestors, which is going to be our LCA. So how we are going to find LCA now? So what we are going to do is, we are going to iterate from j, let's call j from log n to 0. We are going to iterate. Now during this iteration we are going to check two things. We are going to check one thing. Let's say if we decide to move our pointer u upwards, we fix v, let's say we fix v here and we keep moving u upwards. So okay, first thing you check if whether u is an ancestor of v already or not. If u is already an ancestor of v, let's say if your u was 5 and v was 8, if your u was already an ancestor of v, then you return u, or vice versa. Let's say if your v is already an ancestor of u, then you return v, because otherwise what's going to happen that you are not going to reach the, you are going to find a common ancestor but you are not going to reach the lowest common ancestor. So these two are the corner cases. If one of the node is ancestor of other node, then you are going to return the ancestor directly. Otherwise, let's for the case like 7 and 9, where 7 is not an ancestor of 9, neither 9 is an ancestor of 7, what we are going to do is we are going to iterate from j equals to log n to 0, because our sparse table stores the value of 2 per jth parent, and using the is ancestor function, this function, we are going to check whether my node table, whether my jth 2 power jth parent is an ancestor of v or not, is ancestor of v or not. Now if there is two possibility. Now if the 2 power jth parent of u is an ancestor of node v, so let's first talk about if it's not an ancestor of node v. If it's not an ancestor of node v, then you directly move your pointer to its 2 power jth parent. Why? Because our main target is to reach at the node which is not an ancestor, right? So if this node, which is the 2 power jth parent of u, is not an ancestor, then you move your point to that node. Otherwise, if this is an ancestor, what you are going to do? If this is an this node 2 power jth parent of u is an ancestor of v, then you simply decrease j. Why? Because if I say my second parent of 5, if I say, okay, let's say if I say my third parent of 7 here is 3. If I say my third parent of 7, which is 3, is an ancestor of 9, then there is no point in moving pointers upward, because every ancestor which are also ancestor of 3 are also going to be ancestor of 9. So we simply don't care about moving pointer anymore. We simply just decrease the value of j, because we know that decreasing value of j means going down the tree, right? And if this parent we encounter is the ancestor of v, we don't care about that ancestor, because we care about something that is not an ancestor. So we simply decrease the value of j, because if you decrease the value of j, the next node you might encounter is going to be further down that node. So and eventually when you reach this node, at this node at the end, you simply return table u0. You simply return its immediate parent. I hope this is clear that our goal is not to reach the ancestor. Our goal is to reach the topmost node which is not an ancestor. Then you can simply return its immediate parent. Now let's jump into code. I have already written the code. So for this part, I have just taken a graph as input here, and then you have 3 queries to find LCA. Okay, so this value of log I have taken 18, because for 10 power 5 the value of log 10 power 5 base 2 is somewhere around 15 16, so I have taken 18 just as a sanity check. Then I have taken 3 values here. Timer 0, that is going to help us for our Euler 2. Euler 2 is important because Euler 2 is going to help us to find this thing, to create this function is ancestor, which is going to check whether u is ancestor of v or not in view of one time. So t in t out values of nodes, then this is my sparse table, and in this sparse table my table ij will contain 2 power jth parent of I. So first thing I do, I make a DFS call. This DFS call is pre-processing, and during this DFS call, this is the part where Euler 2 happens. I mark my timer and increase my timer, and in this part I build up the table, then I make further DFS calls to its children. The is ancestor function, this works in big of one time to check whether u is an ancestor of v or not. Now to find LCA, okay, so to find LCA, first thing you check whether u is an ancestor of v. If u is an ancestor of v, return u. Similarly, if v is an ancestor of u, you return v. Then you keep iterating from log minus 1 to 0. Why log minus 1? Because my dimension is log, right? Otherwise you will get segmentation error. So from log minus 1 to 0, if it's not an ancestor, then you move your pointer upward, and if it's ancestor, you don't do anything because eventually my I is going to decrease I minus minus, right? So if it's not an ancestor, only then you move your pointer upward, and once you come out of this loop, then at that moment you would have reached the topmost node, you would have reached this value, you would have reached this topmost node, which is not an ancestor. That means every node further up down the path are going to be the ancestors, and since we want the lowest of such ancestors, we return its immediate parent. So at the end you return its immediate parent. So I'll put this code in description, link to this code. If you run it, okay, you can see I have got an output. So in the next video we are going to solve an interesting problem using binary lifting. I hope you found this video helpful. So thumbs up if you like it, subscribe if you love it. I'll see you guys in the next one.